All right, hey guys, Brooke Walker here. So we're gonna kind of throw a little bit of a different variation at you guys. I asked some of you for some questions in my Instagram, social media posts, and you guys shot back with some really odd questions, some inappropriate questions. But you know what? Some of them were really, really great questions, and I'm excited to answer most of them. Not all of them. Some of you guys are a little weird, but one of the first questions was, how do you feel about training shoulders as a secondary movement? I personally prefer to train shoulders as a secondary exercise. So there's nothing wrong with isolating your shoulders. That's completely fine. And there's tons of people that have a isolated shoulder day. They might do shoulders and arms. They might just do shoulders, and that's completely fine. I think that's more person dependent. I like to train, I add in a little bit of shoulders with my chest days. If you guys have been following along, you have taken notice of that I'll always throw in some shoulder movements at the end of my chest workout. You get a lot of secondary work whenever you are training chest. So I think obviously my shoulders could be improved. Nothing's perfect, but my shoulders, the reason why they are is because of my heavy barbell movements, like my bench press. So can you train it as a primary movement? Absolutely. Can you train it as a secondary? Yes. As long as you're training it, that's all that matters, right? That'll lead me into another question. A lot of questions were actually based off of my bench press, which is common for me because my bench press is probably my strongest movement or strongest exercise. And especially from a standpoint of a woman, you don't see a lot of women benching relatively heavy. Obviously, you guys, if you've been following along, you know that bench press is probably my favorite exercise because I'm good at it, right? So I think everybody the things you're good at, you like to do. My heaviest bench press is a 285 bench press, okay? I haven't done that in a while. And then 300, I had a few people actually ask me about a 300 bench press. Is that gonna happen in 2022? And then I actually had somebody ask me, would I ever attempt 315? So yes, I would love those things. It's funny because going back from my powerlifting background, I always had ideal numbers or goals that I wanted to hit myself personally. So for my squat, it was always a 315, and once I hit 315, I was so ecstatic about that. Not that anything over 315 wasn't impressive, but for whatever reason, mentally 315 was what I wanted to hit. So I was able to kind of check that off of my goal sheet. Same thing applies with my deadlift. I always had, for whatever reason, it was 405. I attempted 405, I can't tell you how many times, and failed. And once I got it, it was like just everything else above 405 was just the icing on the cake. So 405, I hit that, and not that I wouldn't want to go above that, but I was super, super proud of that 405. I'm still super proud of that 405. On bench press, it's always been 315. So 315's always been the goal that I've wanted to hit. I have been so close to hitting 300 in the past, but to me, having 3 plates on is more impressive than a 300-pound bench press. I don't know why. That's just like a mental thing. So I thought, I don't want to go for 300, I want to go for 315. So at some point, I would love to do that. And I'm not saying that I won't do it, but now's not the time for me to do it, unfortunately, right? So my primary goal at this given moment is Olympia. So I'm training hard and efficiently, but I have to train smart. And right now, I can't necessarily go past my comfort zone when it comes to bench pressing. So you're probably not going to see me doing a lot of single 1-rep maxes when it comes to bench press, leading up to the Olympia. After the Olympia, my off season, maybe we'll make like a YouTube series, The Road to 315 bench press, right? That kind of leads up to the Olympia, right? I had several people ask about my target weight for the Olympia, and my weight last year at the Olympia, I woke up on the Olympia morning, on Friday morning, at 133 pounds, and I actually dropped weight by the end of the night. So I was 130 that night after I got off stage. It was crazy. I didn't anticipate that kind of weight loss. Going into like my peak week, I was like 137 pounds. So kind of made a pretty big drop when we started to kind of manipulate water and things like that. This year, I would kind of like to be in that 135 range, right? So, and that all is kind of like just a general idea. That could change. I could be a little bit heavier, I could be a little bit lighter. So it just depends on how I look. Obviously, the goal is to come in leaner, harder, and with a little bit more depth and width from behind. So you guys obviously know that. So if I weigh 133 pounds, I'll weigh 133. If that's my absolute best, it doesn't matter as long as I'm at my absolute best, right? Moving on, how do you deal with negative criticism? I think that's a really good question. I think obviously, especially from a female standpoint, when anybody sees muscle on a woman, it's intimidating, they might not like it, it might be gross to them, and that's completely fine, right? Whenever you have to be comfortable in your own skin. So I love the physique that I've built. I've worked so hard for this physique, so I'm not gonna allow the opinion of one person deter me from continuing to accomplish my goals. The unfortunate thing about negative criticism that I do dislike is, you know, I think everybody in the industry, well, just anybody in general, you're probably gonna have those keyboard warriors from time to time that are gonna bash you on social media. They're gonna call you manly, they're gonna say it's gross, and just the list goes on of negative criticism. However, you can't allow that to deter you. It actually makes me sad for those individuals that feel like they have to go on somebody else's page and bash and belittle them. So I'm sending prayers to all those negative haters out there. So just don't pay any attention to it. Now, I will tell you, I will always respect myself. So if somebody has the audacity to negatively criticize me in public in front of me, I will always defend myself, and I will defend others in that regard as well. So I think that's just inappropriate. We see things every day that you might not be a fan of, right? Whether it's how somebody looks, how they dress, whatever the case may be, but that's how they're living their life. And if it's not hurting you, there's no reason to intentionally go out of your way to hurt somebody, right? So me lifting crazy amounts of weight and being huge and massive, whatever, that doesn't hurt anybody, right? Everybody's able to live their life the way that they want. I'm doing my own thing and I'm not hurting anybody. So it'd be different if I was hurting you guys, but I'm a non-violent person, I promise. So don't let those negative feedback, criticism bother you. It doesn't bother me. And I've been getting it since I was an itty bitty bikini competitor and people thought I was manly then. So, you know, I kept going. And I'm gonna continue to keep going. Let's see, how old are you? I'm 32. A lot of people ask that, 32. What's in your grocery cart? We are actually planning on doing a YouTube series where you guys will get to kind of have like a more in-depth view of my grocery cart. But I'm very basic, right? In my in-season and off-season, I'm eating all the same foods, just maybe higher portions, lower portions, kind of depending on where I'm at that time frame, right? So I don't eat meat. That's nothing new in terms of a bodybuilding standpoint. That is just a lifestyle choice that I've made, gosh, when I was 17 years old. So I've been doing it for most of my life. I do still eat fish. I still do eggs. I eat tofu, lots of jasmine rice, cream of rice, all the nut butters ever, right? I have to be mindful of those because it's like a guilty pleasure. Eggs, like I said, I'm not a big fan of sweet potatoes. I will eat them, but they're not kind of like a usual for me. Let's see, all the green veggies. I'm a veggie eater, so you'll see everything that's green in my cart. Lots of water, lots and lots of water. And protein powder, right? Simple. Blueberries, bananas, things of that sort. So keep it very, very basic. Simplicity wins. Would you ever guest pose? I have guest posed numerous times and I love it. I've traveled all over the place and I'm super, super fortunate to have been able to have those opportunities and experiences those with fans of the sport. And allowing promoters to have me at their events is just truly remarkable. I'm so honored to even have had those opportunities. So I've guest posed in Michigan before, Louisiana, Tennessee, and let's see, I've guest posed at the Arkansas State. Yeah, so I try to guest pose once every year. I did guest pose earlier this year in Louisiana, so hopefully next year I'll guest pose somewhere, not sure where. Specifically, somebody asked about Alabama and Atlanta, so I would love to guest pose there. If you want me there, reach out to your promoters within that area and see if they'll have me. Guest posing is a lot of fun because it allows you the opportunity to reach outside of the box from a competitive standpoint. And what I mean by that is you're not limited to like a competition suit, right? So I kind of like to get creative and I might wear costumes. You're able to not be super, super shredded, contest lean, right? So that's another perk. So I can have a little bit of fat on my body, and I can go out there and get creative, use props, that sort of thing. So I do love guest posing. It's a lot of fun. Would you open another gym in Arkansas? That's a great question, and I think a lot of people actually believe that I own 365 Fitness. I do not own 365 Fitness. So I have been here for over 10 years, and I have been with the owners, Ryan and Anthony, for 10 years. And they've just kind of allowed me to be a part of their business, and they have marketed my image and my face for 365 Fitness. And I'm so, so fortunate and blessed to have that opportunity with them. But if I'm just being honest, those are the two individuals that took a chance on me before anybody else did. So they saw greatness in me before anybody else knew who Brooke Walker was. So I owe them so much. I would never compete against them. To me, there's no Brooke Walker without 365 Fitness, and I could never ever do anything without them by my side. Now, would they ever open another gym in Arkansas? They've dabbled in that idea several times. So not to say it will never happen, but you know what? They have their hands full. Like, I commend people that have multiple gyms because they're always dealing with something. But with that being said, if you are in the state of Arkansas or if you're traveling through the state, you should always stop by 365 Fitness in Conway, Arkansas and check it out because it is an amazing gym. So definitely be on the lookout. My leg press is much better than my squat. How do you remedy this? It's a good question. However, that's pretty common. I think most people's leg press is gonna be a little bit better than their barbell squat. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing by any means. However, I will tell you when it comes to a leg press, I think a lot of people suck. Their form sucks at leg press. So they're over here thinking that they are repping out 1,000 pounds on leg press when really their form is pretty awful. So I would, go back to the basics on that. So a lot of times you want to come down nice and slow whenever you're performing a leg press and super slow on the way up. I always kind of use the concept, I want to bring my calves down to my hamstrings whenever I'm coming down in the leg press. So super, super low. But to me, somebody that's doing 4 plates or more on the side of a leg press and they're able to come down and have that full range of motion, slow and controlled on the way down and the way up, that's way more impressive than somebody that has like 1,000 plus loaded on the leg press and they are doing like quarter reps. And you guys know what I'm talking about because it happens at every gym, right? So I don't think it's a big issue that your squat is a little less than your leg press because you know what, mine is too, no biggie. Let's see, different training styles for men and women. It's a great question. It actually drives me crazy to hear people think that because I'm a woman or because somebody's a man that they have to have 2 different styles of training. That's not the case, right? So obviously there could be different goals in a sense that say you're a power lifter and then you have somebody that's general health and wellness. Yes, their training styles might differ, but that's just purely based off of their goals, right? It has nothing to do with somebody's a man and somebody's a woman, so they have to completely change their weight training based off of that. I do think, general rule of thumb, it seems like at least, that men prefer to train upper body, women prefer to train lower body. Typically women hold their strength in their legs, right? That's just kind of our genetic makeup. However, I do believe that the goal for any physique is to be balanced, regardless of your goals, right? So you should be training every muscle group equally. However, if you have like a lagging muscle group, maybe you're training that particular muscle group a little bit more often, right? But don't be the guy in the gym with small legs, right? And ladies, I've said it 100 times, but don't be afraid to train chest. It seems like women are typically a little bit more on the weary side of chest, right? Doesn't have to be as excessive or as heavy as a guy does, but get a little bit of blood flow. It's all about balance. How do you count and determine your macros? That is a great question. I don't count my macros at all. I don't keep track of it. Again, that's just personal choice. I don't want to obsess over numbers, and I'm somebody that will obsess over that, so I choose not to count my macros. However, if you're a person that you think that would benefit you and would help keep you accountable and stay on point for your plan and your goals, I think that would be completely fine to count your macros. Now, when it comes to determining your macros, obviously that's going to be a little bit more person dependent as well. So you have to kind of evaluate what your goals are at first. Are you looking to gain? Are you looking to maintain? Are you looking to lose? So you kind of have to have that general guideline first to to determine where your calories need to be. From that point forward, let's just say like if you're just on average, I'll say a general rule of thumb that I've always used in the past is whenever I determine my macro ratios, it would be a 40-40-20 split. So what I mean by that is 40% of your diet, your calorie intake will be coming from carbohydrates, 40% will be coming from proteins, and then 20% will be coming from fats, right? That is not a set in stone ratio, right? Some people vary a little bit, and that's completely fine. That's just kind of like a general rule that I like to start with, and then kind of go from there. And I'll just say if your calorie intake, let's just say, is 2,000 calories, obviously 40% of that needs to come from carbs, 40% needs to come from proteins, 20% needs to come from fats, right? Again, that's just a general baseline. Obviously, it's person dependent, depending on what your goals are, what your calorie intake needs to be. So, and your ratios could vary as well. That's very general, so don't like go start fact checking me and saying that, I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so I have two special guests too, two ladies that are very near and dear to my heart. They are actually both aspiring IFBB pros, and I think it is just a matter of when they will become pros. And they are both trainers here at 365 Fitness in Conway, Arkansas. And they're gonna answer a few questions as well that I feel like, their input, because they can relate, and they're competitors as well. I think their input and their opinions and their feedback will be really awesome for you guys to kind of listen to. Here we go. Lexi and Mel.
Hi guys. Hey y'all.
So if you guys have been kind of keeping up, you have met Lexi, obviously. She's been awesome in these videos, and Melissa's gonna join us today as well. Melissa is like our early riser, so she is here at like 3:30 in the morning, right?
Yes.
She is, that's her time to shine. So both of these girls had their national debuts this year, and they both did phenomenal. Lexi, as you know, is a wellness competitor. She has dabbled in figure as well, and Melissa is a figure competitor. She is freakish, and let me tell you, she is you just be on the lookout for her. If you don't know who she is, you will. Okay, this is a great question because all three of us can relate to this, okay? Is it challenging exercising at your place of employment?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Yeah,
oh my
question.
gosh. Do you want? You go ahead.
No, you can go. Sometimes it's not as challenging. It's just that sometimes I know for me, I have to put my hoodie on and headphones, and then that's the way nobody can bother me. Like that's what I do.
Right.
It's,
That can be tough for sure, being
Yeah.
pulled all the time.
Yeah, because they know that you work here, so any little thing like as for getting water or a towel or anything for the gym, that just comes straight to you regardless of what you're doing. So I think that's my indicator to just cut everything off is just put my hoodie on, headphones, and just
Don't make eye contact.
Yeah, and don't make eye contact, yeah.
Yes. It's so funny. I've been asked by my clients several times, they're like, when do you work out? I never see you work out. It's almost like a mystery to them when we do work out, which we do. We usually work out in the slow time of the afternoon, probably anywhere from, noon to 2 or 3. But I have found it challenging to work out where I work, but at the same time, I feel safe here and I know the equipment well. And I know myself well in this atmosphere. So if anything, I feel like I do better working out here as opposed to other gyms. I know I've heard of, some trainers that will specifically leave their gym just to go work out at other gyms. And I see where they're coming from when it comes to that, but at the same time, I've also seen that when our clients do spot us working out, that gives us a chance to lead by example.
Yes.
And for them to recognize that we do put in the work and the time and things of that sort as well. But for me, working out here is almost like just working out at home. So it's just easier. And sure, we get pulled.
Or definitely
every
working
now
out with
and then.
family.
Yeah, working out with family.
And then we just hold each other accountable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I'll elaborate. It is tough, because say as a trainer, you'll have an allotted time frame, right, for your workouts sometimes. And it's hard whenever you might get interrupted. And I don't think, and I can speak for myself and for Lexi and Melissa that you know, they're the types that if somebody asks you for help or they need something, whether it's in regards to getting a drink or it's exercise related, it's not in my nature to blow them off, right?
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
if it's kind of cutting into my time, you know, I would always go the extra mile, make sure I'm trying to help them out. And I can speak for both of them that they would do the same for anybody.
Yes.
So it's definitely challenging, but it is so rewarding.
Yeah.
But I think that goes to show, because a lot of people have told me, yeah, it must be so easy. You can work out whenever you want and all day, every day. And that's definitely not the case. I wish it were. I wish it were that easy, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are able to break away from their place of employment and they go to the gym and that's their vice, right? So
Sure.
whenever we break away from our place of employment, we're still in our place of employment. So we're still in the building. I love it. And like Lexi said, this is home for me too. So I don't want to go to any other gym. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like this
Yeah.
is the one that I feel comfortable in. The people that are here, I love the environment, the energy. So yeah, it's great. It's home.
But I will say, one of the best things ever was that I just got my own Stairmaster at my house. So being able to do cardio at my house, yes.
Oh,
I'm
that's like a nice
super
thing,
duper
yeah.
excited about that. So that's the one thing that I will definitely cheat on my gym
I
with,
agree.
is my own garage.
All right. So how do you deal with injuries while training?
Great question, Brooke. Fun story. I tore my ACL, PCL, MCL, and both of my meniscus at the trampoline park about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I was dunking a basketball, and yes, I did make it. But I came down and whomper jawed my knee, and I thought that that particular leg was never going to be the same. And even my surgeon told me, you know, that you'll basically never exercise the same, lift the same, things of that nature. And sure, I never forget it. It's always in the back of my head. But I did everything that I was supposed to do as far as physical therapy, and I didn't baby it too long. So I did ease back into being active, but I stayed on my crutches as long as I was supposed to. I wore the brace, I wore the wraps, I did all that I was supposed to while still easing back into it instead of kind of running from the rehab of it. And thankfully today, I feel as if my right one gives me just as many issues as my left, so at least I'm balanced back out.
Yeah.
But I still lift with confidence, even knowing that had happened, but I do wear knee sleeves, which helps
Yeah.
tremendously.
I tore my ACL playing rugby. No. I used to play rugby, but it was so crazy because I tore my ACL playing flag football. I was like 5 yards from touchdown, stepped in. Y'all, I was like a horse afterwards. I was trying to eat all the grass. I'm not lying
Wow.
to you. But it really, I just focus on, number one thing is form. Like how she said
Yes,
it,
that's
like
good, yeah.
to easing your weight back into it. But then my form and technique, that's what I really focused on, because I needed to make sure that, you know, if I do just ease my way back into it, that I'm doing it right. I'm not gonna, you know, risk myself an injury again. And yeah, just take it easy, day
Sure.
by day, week by week, month by month.
Right?
Yeah.
And knock on wood, I don't see
Oh
any
yeah,
wood.
knock on wood.
But don't they say that once you tear it, you usually tear it again? And,
Yeah.
But
Knock on
thankfully,
something.
that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So that does not always have to be the case. If you take care of yourself, do proper form,
Yeah.
and just don't do heavy lifts like she was talking about with quarter reps. Like do good, solid reps. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, again, I think it's just being mindful, right? So
Yes.
obviously you're gonna push yourself to the point of discomfort, and when it
Yes.
comes to rehabbing injuries, you do want to get to that point, right? It's gonna be uncomfortable, and you're gonna have that kind of like, I need to nurse this injury. You're scared because you don't want to re-injure yourself. But I think you have to be mindful of knowing the difference between discomfort and actual pain.
That's
so
true.
if you're
Yeah,
getting to
good
the point
point.
of where you're training something, and you know, I probably need to ease off of this because I'm getting to the point of pain, then maybe ease off of it. But also acknowledge that you're going to have to allow yourself to get in an uncomfortable position in order to allow your body to rehab and recover from that injury.
It's something you always say, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
I said it right?
Yeah.
So it's just the same with injury. Like you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be scared to even just get back out there and do what you used to do, or try to get back to doing what you used to do. But you just have to just
Push through.
Push through.
Within reason.
Yes.
There you go. Be mindful.
Yeah.
I think this is a great question. how do you deal with body dysmorphia in the in-season and the off-season?
Holy smokes. Y'all answer it because I need to
I'm
answer.
not doing that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a thing. And I'd always heard of it, but I never truly experienced it until after I competed for the first time. And it's legit, for sure. But one thing that I feel has spoken the most to me was one time my mom told me, she's like, Lex, regardless of, you know, whether you're stage lean or off season, I say thicker than a Snicker. She was like, confidence goes a long way. If you will just be confident in the skin that you're in, as long as you're healthy and you're staying active and you're fit and you're eating like you're supposed to, confidence will go a long way. And I think that if I will continue to practice that more and more, I'll be able to accept myself more so on stage and off stage, for sure. Because I, for sure, reached a point of thinking that, you know, stage lean, being on stage, that was the best version of myself, and anything outside of it, 5 pounds more, 10 pounds, 15 pounds more, was a failure, was a complete fail for me. So I'm definitely working on changing that paradigm within my mind, because I also know that it takes a little bit of softness on you for you to even grow in the first place.
Yeah,
For sure.
Me, girl, you took that. You took
like
that.
nailed every bit of it,
I know,
didn't you?
right? But me, I just stay clothed.
Cover everything up.
Yeah, well, I just don't, even when I'm getting ready for a show, I just don't like to, you know, look at my body. Like, bro, she can tell you, like, I will come in here with a hoodie on, full leggings. I just don't want to see nothing. And I guess it just come with confidence. Like, I just have to become more comfortable in my body off season and in season. But
which is wild, because you have some of the most incredible abs I've ever seen. Turtle shell abs. On point. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just, that's how I deal with it. I just cover up. And then I wow myself while I'm with wowing y'all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with everything that they said. I think it's normal to have body dysmorphia, right? So obviously there's a healthy way to be critical of yourself, and there's an unhealthy way, but it is normal. I think every person, and this has nothing to do with even people that compete, I think we all struggle with some sort of body dysmorphia at some point in our life. It's maybe more prevalent whenever in competitors, because we obviously push ourselves. We're doing crazy amounts of cardio. We're getting super lean and shredded for our show day, and then once the show day's over, then we start to kind of put a little bit of weight back on. We soften up a bit. We have a little bit more body fat than we're used to, and it mentally kind of messes with you. I would say hold yourself accountable, and I think it is important to have a coach in season and off season. That way they can keep you in check, because we're all guilty of kind of, you know, maybe getting a little too crazy in our off season. But I think body dysmorphia exists in season as well. So, you know, I'm prepping for a show, and I think everybody can relate to this. You're always like, man, I'm not lean enough, I'm not hard enough, I'm not ready, I'm not gonna be ready, and I think you start to panic yourself a little bit. And some of us, we might not be ready. You know, those thoughts that you are thinking, you might not be lean enough, but truthfully, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you are lean enough, and then you look back at those previous photos that you're looking at during your contest prep, and you're like, man, I was lean. Like, I was scrolling through some Olympia photos from last year leading up to the Olympia, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so lean. And I do remember at that given point, I was like, oh, I'm not ready. Like, I'm not going to compete. The Olympia's in 1 week, and I'm not going to compete, you know? But I think that's normal. I think it's just do it in a healthy way. Be critical of yourself. Have a coach that's going to kind of keep everything in hindsight for you, and not allow yourself to self-sabotage, because I think a lot of people are guilty of that. And that is normal, unfortunately. But have somebody that's going to help you keep it in check.
Because she definitely does. I can stay in my head a lot, and I can tell you that.
But that makes a good competitor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It does. Okay, this is where we're gonna end it. What is your favorite thing about competing?
You go ahead, Mel.
Just the way it makes me feel. Like, I love the way I feel. I love the way that I look. And even when it comes to like the nutrition part, like, I just love the way I feel overall.
For
Like
sure.
afterwards, if I try to eat a burger or something, like I feel horrible afterwards. But that's the most thing I like about competing, and I like the sport. I like when I get on stage and I'm able to just show y'all my body, what I worked so hard for. Like that's the most. Even though I clocked out mentally there, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the most fun part
I agree.
for me.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think for me, of course, everyone loves that moment on stage, but also just the process of it, the process leading up to it. I know that the 2 preps that I have gone through, both this year and last year, I came out a better person. I feel like I showed up a little girl and I came out a woman. It just makes you kind of grow up, and it helps you just have a whole different perspective on life. I don't mean to be too dramatic or deep on it, but when you challenge yourself to that type of level with that capacity of just just the deficit, the calorie deficit, as well as the cardio, and then just the mental aspect of things, it just makes you see everything else in life a little bit differently, and for that I'm very thankful.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to agree. One thing that I will kind of add in on is, I've said this numerous times and I will continue to say it every time somebody asks me about it, is the camaraderie. I love the opportunities that competing has given me, and the people that I've met and the relationships I've gained along the way. And there's people in this industry, in this sport, that I would have never had the opportunity to gain relationships with had it not been for competing. So I love being on stage. Yes, I enjoy that. But man, the relationships, I mean, the 3 of us, I think that has a lot to do with competing, you know? So
She's both of our coach.
I love those ladies.
Yes.
I love them.
So, but it's nice, and it creates lifelong relationships. It gives you a community of like-minded people that are going through the same issues and obstacles that you're going through.
Yeah.
So to have that with somebody and have somebody that can relate with you is it's an amazing feeling, because competing is great, but it sucks too. So like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's times where you're prepping for a show and you're gonna wanna quit. Like, I'm not ready, I do not wanna do this. Why am I doing this? I'm tired, I'm hungry, everything hurts.
Yeah.
There's great aspects of it, but there's really low points too. So having somebody there that's saying, hey, I'm right there with you, I'm going through that too, I know what you feel like, but we got this, we got 8 weeks to get through it, 4 weeks, whatever. Let's do this. Because whenever you do compete, man, it is the most gratifying and rewarding experience after you get on that stage, right? No matter win or lose, you were up there and you're like, I did it. And it makes it so worthwhile, because at the end of the day, somebody can help you, somebody can coach you, they can kind of help you out, but it's up to you to put forth that work, and only you can do it. You're the only person that can cross that stage, you're the only person that can do that cardio, eat whatever it is that you're having to eat, pose. I mean, it's crazy, and some people have to really, really work hard. It's not uncommon for people to be doing stupid amounts of cardio from time to time, and training nonstop, and posing nonstop, and eating, and drinking tons of water, and I mean, just the list goes on. So it's hard, and having people alongside you is...
We're definitely our own breed,
100%.
I think. So it's nice to have people that understand just all the nuances of everything.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you guys for having some awesome questions. We will continue to do this going forward, and if you like what you see, or if you don't like what you see, I guess you can comment too, because a lot of you do that anyways. But anyways, we'll catch you on the flip side.
See ya.